Hi, I'm Jalen Rose, and welcome to the Renaissance Man podcast, proudly presented by the New York Post, a show where we cover trends in fashion, entertainment, current events, and everything in between. My next guest is an award-winning actress known for so many iconic roles. I'll just tell you a couple of them. Everybody Hates Chris, Martin, the list goes on and on. She's currently playing Tina Butler on the CBS sitcom series with my brother from another, said the entertainer, called The Neighborhood. Now in its 5th season, getting close to them syndication checks. It is my
Don't count
honor.
my money, Jalen. Don't be counting my money, Jalen.
It is my honor to welcome the hilarious Tichina Arnold to the Renaissance Man. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jalen. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing well, and I know a lot about your story. I'm a huge fan of yours. I was so very gracious that you took time to join us because to let our audience know a lot of things about you that they may not know. So I want to ask you initially, tell me, was it like growing up for you in Queens, New York?
Oh my gosh. Growing up in New York, we had the best of all worlds because New York was, Grand Central Station, pardon the pun, for culture. So, it wasn't until I moved to California that I was able to really not respect New York, but to really embrace the fact that I had a great upbringing. I went to music and arts, school of music and arts. So I would take 3 trains and a bus to the city every day. And I've been in the industry since I was 11 years old. Started singing at church since I was, since the age of 3. So culturally, I've been surrounded by everything. So that has always been a part of me, and it's helped me, later down in life, because now me being exposed to the wonderful city of New York, it allowed me to meet so many different kinds of people and just be blessed with just good information. You're a little quicker, your street smarts a lot,
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
possess a little bit of everything. So I will always give credence to New York for that, because it's a great city.
Absolutely. So when did you know? Because you talked about being 3 years old and 11 years old. So when did you know that acting and singing and entertainment was something that you wanted to do as a career?
I knew by the time I hit the stage. I did this play called The Me Nobody Knows at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn. And it was my first job. There was no money. I was 12 going on 13. And I remember being on that stage and just, people clapping and just all the performances. I was just like, this is what I do. This is what, so being a kid, it was like, I didn't know any better. There was nothing else that I even thought about doing. I just knew that I was in my element. I knew that, another pivotal point in my life was when I was 3. That's the only thing that I can remember when I was 3. I remember looking at my mother and telling my mom, I want to sing. And the type of person my mother is, she was like, my baby wants to sing. So they literally, and I think the church still has that same brown table. I remember stood me up on the table, gave me the mic, and I'm looking out in the audience, and the congregation was just quiet. And then I sang If I Had a Hammer. And I remember the church just going up and clapping with me. And it's just a feeling you just never, ever forget. So I think that's when I got the real bug for entertainment. And by the time I was 13, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. You couldn't tell me I wasn't in the
Right. Absolutely. And so getting into entertainment the way you did was kind of like sports for me.
Oh, really?
Like when I was young, I always told people, I'm going to make it to the league. I used to write my autographs as Dr. J and everything. But being young and being Black, what happens is so many of us have that goal and that dream. And so you talked about taking 3 trains and taking 1 bus to get there. See, that didn't go over my head. talk about the sacrifices that you were making early in your life to pursue your dream.
Well, where I learned that it was going to be a sacrifice was when I was 12 years old. I became, well, no, around, 12, 13. I became a latchkey kid. My sister was 3 years younger than me. My mom worked for the Department of Sanitation. My dad was a cop in Brooklyn. And literally they, both having two parents that worked for the city, they had 9 to 5 jobs. So I remember my mother telling me, she said, look, I'm gonna show you how to go to your auditions on the train. And this is at the age of 12. Wow. So I learned how to take the train by myself. But my mom told me, she says, I can't lose a day of work anymore. I can't take you on your auditions. I can't lose any more work. And she said, do you really want to do this? And I said, yes, I really want to do it. So we have to understand, as young Black people, as Black individuals, we are so powerful. Our words that we speak are powerful. And just how you told yourself you want to be in the league, you spoke it into existence.
Correct.
So now what we have to work on is the follow through, because you get exactly what you pray for. But are you ready for it? So I think, being young, I didn't know whether or not I was ready for it. I wanted it. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I wanted to entertain by any means necessary. And it happened.
So you entertain, you're hilarious, you act, and you sing. Like, I'm a huge fan of yours. So I have to ask, like, as you were growing and as you were maturing, like, who were some of the people that inspired you in those fields?
Oh gosh, Gladys Knight, Carol Burnett, Flip Wilson. I loved Sherman Hemsley. I love watching. I love Red Fox. I love Red Fox. I love watching him. Lily Tomlin. There were just so many great performances, performers that I was glued to the TV. And that was Jalen during the day where it was ABC, NBC, and CBS. Yes. And then you had, I think, Channel 9. I can't remember the call letters for it. But television programming was literally programmed. The same shows came on every night. I was inspired by Nell Carter as well. I remember, I said, Nell Carter, she's the only Black woman on a major network with her own show coming on 3 and 4 times a day. And people didn't realize that, but I noticed that. And so that was one of those things where I could do that too. I could be on TV too. One day I could have my own show. So I never forgot it. So I always thought, and I always made sure that I would always be mindful that it's not just being in the industry, but it's a responsibility that comes with it. So I can't do all the things that I want to do. I can't act the way I want to act in public all the time, because there's always somebody watching. And then now that I have a daughter who's 18 going on 55, these children watch everything we do. And I'm seeing her, like I'm seeing myself through her. So a part of me is living, on this earth. And it's weird, but it's gratifying, and it makes me know just how important my position is in life.
Absolutely. And you described a golden era in what I believe were television sitcoms, where we can sit in front of the TV and flip the channel, see Good Times, Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons. Like, I remember watching Sherman Hemsley's character grow from being on Archie Bunker.
Yeah, all in the family,
And I remember watching that show thinking, I know that what he just said is racist, but this show was funny to me.
Funny.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. But Norman, I thanked Norman Lear for that, because Norman Lear, being an old white guy, in charge of all of these Black shows, he still kept a lot of integrity. Good Times, after a while, it's just, I said, I'm tired of the negativity. It's like, when are these people gonna make it out of the like?
Yeah, they gonna ever get out of the ghetto?
Yeah, we need some happiness here. So I stopped watching that.
Right.
But All in the Family had real issues, and I love the way he presented them. It was palatable. a lot of times we don't like the truth, but sometimes you got to face the truth, and it is what it is. And we're dealing with a very racist, prejudiced world, and we have to be able to navigate through that. So, you know, sometimes the story you like it, sometimes you may not, but what are you getting out of it? What are you getting from it? So, no, it's important that we tell real stories.
Absolutely. And it was so well written and articulated. It allowed me to digest it. And to your point, and this is the next question I asked, because as a public figure, you got to have tough skin, because not only are we imperfect human beings, but sometimes your critics are right.
Oh, and so that's wow.
Yeah, see, sometimes our critics are right. And so for you, I have to ask you, you've been very successful for an extremely long time in multiple different genres. So I ask you, like, how do you overcome your critics? How do you deal with criticism?
I deal with criticism pretty well. Now that I'm older, I'm a little more wiser, but I do think back in times where, you know, I probably should have handled that a little differently. It is the important part is setting your ego aside. We all have egos. It's how we feed our egos.
Correct.
And I learned to check myself. So I think that comes from being in the industry and being told what to do. So, you know, all my life, it's like you get directors, you're like, okay, you do this, do that, do that. So actors are always being told what to do. And, you know, you kind of watch other people's lives, but I always check myself. I constantly check myself. And if I know that I'm feeling sensitive or a little off about something, I won't read people's comments, or sometimes I'll reply to it. I don't mind healthy debates, but I never mind being, you know, corrected, because we're all human. We're not perfect. We're not perfect.
Absolutely. And I, as somebody, again, who watched so much television, took so much pride in the fact that the historic comedy of Martin, which you were featured on, represented my hometown of Detroit.
Detail.
Yeah, we took so much pride in that show being quote unquote set in Detroit. So I have to ask, what was it like for you in the early days of filming Martin?
We didn't know what we had, Jalen. Like, literally, we had fun literally every day. We came to work, and then, you know, working with Martin, he's like a kind of a gun. Like, once he takes off, there's no stopping him. So, like, even when he first started the show, we used to have to push him on his mark because he wasn't used to, you know, the semantics of, you know, working in front of the camera. And so if you go back to our earlier shows in that first season, you'll see Martin laughing. It's because we're pushing him on his mark. Because I'm like, you're on my mark. So we like literally had fun, but I learned so much from Martin because his comedy, what we were doing was what we would do at home. You know, my character Pam was originally for a heavy set character. So when I booked the role, because when I auditioned for the role, all the jokes were fat girl jokes. So when I booked the role, you know, I was skinny then. I ain't anymore, but I was skinny back then. So, you know, once I got the role, Martin and his crew didn't realize that I knew how to crack too. You know, we call crack on each other. And I was like, all the things that happened off camera, they started just you know, putting them in the script. And Martin was really good about that. He was like, if it ain't funny, it wasn't gonna happen. But the cameras, we just, when Martin moved, you move. That's what I learned. When comedy starts and it don't stop, you got to go with it.
The one thing that I don't know if you guys realize this, but your character and Gina's character represented a level of strength and unapologetic Black woman's independence on TV. So what was it like for you to be able to like crack jokes, express yourself, and not always be the butt of the joke, so to speak, like so many times we see ourselves and or Black women playing roles like that?
Well, there were some women, and later down, like some people still talk about, you know, colorism amongst us as Black people. And Martin cracking on Pam did not come from a mean place. And the reason why I could say that, because I was there as we were developing. Where that came from was that me and Martin really went back and forth like that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why they wrote that episode where he's having dreams of having sex with me.
Yeah.
Like he's about to have sex with
Yeah.
me. Our relationship and our dynamic was really built upon me being the best friend. And you know, the best friend is always the third wheel. She's always the hater. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we played off of that. It had nothing to do with color. So that, you know, a lot of women, dark-skinned women, they get insulted because they're like, well, why is she dark one? He's got a light-skinned girlfriend, blah, blah. So it was not derived from that at all, because that's not how Martin is. That's not how he rolls, like at all. His sisters are my color, so he would never disrespect his own sister, you know?
Right.
So it's like, it came from a real place. And some people understand it, some people don't. But literally, we did not know that we would culturally make a stamp.
Yes.
The way we did. We had no idea. No idea.
And anybody that watched the show understand it wasn't about colorism at all. Because like you would crack on him, and usually like your jokes would be stronger than his.
and some did that way.
but for real though, because sometimes they don't allow that to happen to the star. You see what I'm saying? Right. So I have to ask you, like, what are one of your favorite skits or one of your favorite skits or shows from Martin?
My favorite episode was the CD episode, CD player, where it was a playoff New Jack City. That was my favorite episode. I literally almost tinkled on myself laughing. Try not to laugh. Tommy gave up. Tommy would because what we would do on the show, we always tried to make each other like one up each other. So whoever laughed first, you're out of the game. Like, so Tisha was really good with not laughing. Carl would cheat because he would go, he would be laughing, but he would go off camera and you'll hear him go, But that CD episode was hilarious because the backstory on that, Martin wanted a real dog. We were a Black show. We didn't have a big budget. They was like, we're not getting you a real dog. So when we saw the fake dog, it was like, oh my God, somebody's getting fired today. But Martin, in his comedic brilliance, was able to take that fake dog and work with it. But his one requisite, it was like, he's like, look, you cannot, if this dog got to be able to stand up, it better not fall. So we're hearing him tell this to the prop masters. We're like, okay, hopefully the dog won't fall. They was like, no, the dog has weight in the, the bottom of it. So as Martin's doing the scene and that dog fell, we were like, oh my God. But when he said lay after that dog fell, I lost it. We all lost it. We were done. So it's just so many wonderful moments on Martin. And too bad the studio audience was able to get more of what our television audience. There was so many things that happened off camera that were way funnier than what happened on camera. Because back then we couldn't curse. Right. There's a lot of stuff that we couldn't do. We had, people counting the dams, counting the hells, but we had a blast. And culturally, we're so appreciative to have made a mark in our community.
Absolutely. And it was great to see you guys have a 30-year reunion. I mentioned it as I introduced you. Cedric the Entertainer is a friend of mine. He's been on this show. You're in your 5th season now of The Neighborhood on CBS. Get that network money and audience.
And don't be counting my money, Jalen. Stop counting my money.
Trying to get syndicated. I'm going to have to start walking to your mailbox for you. I am not mad at all.
Well, syndication is not as good as it was back then, unfortunately. Streaming changed the game.
Gotcha.
Streaming changed the game. I'm happy that technology is moving forward, but back in the day, when you were able to get into syndication on one show, you could retire. Not so much anymore.
Gotcha.
Checks ain't as good as that. Not unless you own the show. And I don't own any of the shows that I'm on, that have been on. But it's a blessing because this is the first time I've been on a major network, Jalen.
Killing them.
Never been Fox. When we did Martin, Fox wasn't a major network; it's an independent network. So now that Fox is a major network, now But being on CBS is it's wonderful. It's good. Like I'm happy that my career has been able to have growth. I like doing. I want to do a little bit of everything. That's why I'm directing now. I'm starting my directorial debut. So I'm just expanding, and you got to expand, you got to grow. And so that,
So talk to me about directing and how important it was for you to show not only that creative side of yourself, but to also inspire others that want to follow in your footsteps.
Well, we got to understand that our words are very powerful. And I tell people all the time, grown people, young people, don't walk in fear. We have to learn how to be fearless. It's okay to have fearful moments, but those are just moments. We have to work through the fear. You can't let because fear will stop you. Fear will make you second guess yourself. Fear will make you change your dreams and aspirations. Fear will make you dummy yourself down. We have to be able to get in a place where you dig your heels in the ground and really believe in yourself, really believe what you're doing. So I've been asked to direct for the longest time. I kind of shied away from it because that's something else I got to learn. I'm just not ready to do it. I want to work in front of the camera a little longer. And then the opportunity kept presenting itself. So you know what I did? Little by little, I let go of that unknown feeling of fear of doing something else and directing. But I had my directorial debut with BET Her, doing a film short about breast cancer awareness. So now I'm in a position to where now I can direct things, our own stories. It's important that we tell our own stories. So directing will give me that opportunity to do so as well.
Absolutely. And I know I only got a couple of minutes left with you, but I have to ask you, and again, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate how you and Tisha Campbell opened up the Soul Train Awards with an incredible soul medley. So what does that era of music mean to you? And which artists are some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh. Music, I always say, makes the world go around, but Black people, we are music. Music is not just, music is a ministry. It's a ministry for me. And that's why I never became a music artist. I don't like the music business. Don't like it, never did. And I probably never will.
Right.
If it continues in that path. Because singing was the first gift that God gave me. Singing was the first gift that I realized I had. And so I protect it. I cherish it. And I want to make sure that but being a part of Soul Train was great because we want to always stay true to our roots. And Gladys Knight, come on, Stevie Wonder, I could go, the list goes on and on and on. Whitney Houston. Just so many great music artists that we've lost. We have great music artists that are still here. Let's just keep sharing the music, sharing with each other, helping each other, supporting each other. Let's just keep going. No fear, no fear. Let's go.
I want to thank you for your talent and your voice and your strength. But before I let you get out of here, I got a rapid fire segment called Gone in 60 Seconds.
Gone in 60 seconds.
Ready to do this?
All right.
All right. You're a TV mom on screen in the neighborhood as well as off screen. Who's your favorite TV mom?
Isabel Sanford.
Legend. Great answer. Of the many roles you've played over the years, which one would you say is the most underrated?
In roles?
Yes, they were underrated.
Cassie on Survivor's Remorse.
Crush that. If you could karaoke night with any musical artist, who would it be?
Oh, that's no fair, but I would have to say Gladys Knight. I love Gladys Knight.
She's a legend. And last but certainly not least, before I let you get out of here, what can fans expect from the neighborhood on this upcoming season?
More good
Let's get it.
Oh my girls.
Yes, you can. You can say whatever you want. Thank you very much for
Jalen,
joining
I
me.
appreciate you,
Yes,
man.
ma'am.
Much
That's
success to you for
Yes,
taking
ma'am.
your career to another level. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's
I'm
good.
coming to the neighborhood set to come and support real soon.